Hare Krishna. So I'll begin with the questions here. How to keep ourselves positive-minded against the highly sounded material nature? So I think highly sounded here means very powerful material nature. Usually, actually this is the question that Prahlad Maharaj is asked by Hiranyakashipu, that on whose strength are you defying me? So from the material perspective, Hiranyakashipu is thousands of times more powerful than Prahlad. So Prahlad's confidence came from his connection with the Supreme Lord. So usually, if we think that we are fighting against material nature, that fight may be for either reasons. The fight may be because we want to enjoy material nature, or we want to reject material nature. For either purpose, if we think that we are fighting against material nature, we will not be able to sustain ourselves for long. Because material nature is just too powerful. Krishna uses the word daivi, he uses the word divine. So, but Krishna also uses the same describer, daivi, which he uses in 7.14, also uses it again in 9.12. Daivi, daivim prakritima ashritaha. So he's talking about his internal potency, which is also daivi. That means Krishna has the external energy and Krishna has the internal energy. So in the internal energy, the focus is on serving Krishna. So it is not on dominating material nature, nor is it on renouncing material nature. So we are, as devotees, we are not primarily concerned with fighting against material nature. We are primarily concerned with serving Krishna. And when in our service to Krishna, material nature brings some obstacles, then we fight against material nature. But if we keep our eyes fixed on this world, fixed on material nature, then sooner or later we'll be overwhelmed. We cannot stay positive-minded. So it is only when our eyes are raised beyond the world towards Krishna, then we can actually become positive. So in material nature, many different kinds of adversities may come. But we always have no adversity, no matter how big it may be, it cannot take away three powers from us. The first power is our power to decide what we think about. We may get a terrible disease, we may may suffer financially, but no one can force us to think about something. Now, because of our attachment, say if I get a terrible disease, I may think, oh, why did I get this disease? Why did I get this disease? Our thoughts may go towards there, but the problem can't force us to think about it. We always have the freedom to choose what we can think about. And Krishna Bhakti gives us the most satisfying alternative object to think about. So when we recognize that nothing can take away our power to think about Krishna. And if we see, most of the times we have problems, and the problems can be very big. But often our dwelling on the problem makes the problem even bigger. So if we don't dwell on the problem, if we dwell on something else, something which is satisfying, something which is solace giving, that's what I mean by raising our eyes beyond the world. So we always have the power to choose what we think about. And especially if we make a habit of practicing Krishna consciousness seriously, chanting, hearing, studying, then we already have developed some attachment to Krishna. And when problems come, thinking about something else becomes easy, relatively easy. Prabhupada writes in his Jaladuta diary that after he had that heart attacks and he was in great pain, at that time he says, my only solace is the nectar of Chaitanya Charitamrita. So Prabhupada was reading that and he was gaining strength from there. So we may be in adverse circumstances, but we always have the power to choose what we think about. Second is, we decide how we look at the circumstance. The problem will be there, but how we perceive the problem, our attitude towards the problem is up to us. Often, it is not just the event that causes distress, it is the meaning that we assign to the event that causes distress. So for example, if a soldier goes on a war field and is shot by the enemy, the soldier, that's a matter of celebration, because the soldier becomes a hero, war hero, may get an award afterwards. Because that wound is meaningful, it is in a glorious cause. But if on the other hand, the soldier is going to the war field and suddenly the soldier tumbles off the tank and breaks his leg. There's no glory in that. So the wound may be the same, but in one case it is a glory, in the other case it is not. Why? Because there is certain meaning assigned to it. So we all, whatever events happen to us, depending on what meaning we assign to it, we perceive it as positively or negatively. So bhakti means we understand that actually nothing that happens is meaningless. Nothing that happens is purposeless. Even if I don't understand the purpose, still there is some plan that Krishna has. And essentially, if we become fixed in our service to Krishna, not necessarily a specific form of service, but the principle of service. If we want to enjoy, then we need so many conditions for enjoying. But if we want to serve, we can serve in any condition. We maybe have particular kinds of service we like to do, and we may not be able to do that kind of service, but we can always serve in some way or the other. So actually, when our external circumstances limit us, then that is an opportunity to see that as an opportunity for intensifying the spirit of service. And lastly, we can choose our response to our situation. So what we think about, how we look at the particular situation, and how we respond to the situation. So when a problem comes, some people may just become snappy and irritable, shouting at everyone else. Some people may just become depressed, sinking into themselves. Some people may become atheistic. So basically, we can go in three directions when we face problems. One is blame others, second is blame ourselves, third is blame God. So we can blame in these three directions. Blame others, blame ourselves, or blame God. And all three are actually unproductive. So instead, if we focus on the point that what can I do in this situation, we'll find that if we are attached to doing particular things, we will only be able to see on all that I can't do. But if we are attached to the principle of service, we will always see that there is something that I can do even in this situation. And by focusing on what we can do, we can actually increase our freedom. We can increase our freedom more and more because we see that bhakti has the potency to focus us and direct us towards what we can do. So by redirecting our thoughts towards Krishna and then using the Krishna conscious philosophy to see the problem appropriately and then responding positively to that, we can in that way avoid negativity when we are dealing with problems. Shall we accept that expectation is the biggest cause of unhappiness? If so, then what should we expect to keep ourselves happy and what should we not expect? Expectation is not the cause of unhappiness, it is misdirected expectation. See, to want to become completely expectationless is actually impersonalist or voidist philosophy. Because it is the nature of consciousness to perceive. And when we pursue some things, naturally we will desire some things after perceiving. We will want some things. So, the Vedanta Sutra tells us, Athato Brahma Jigyasa. Inquire about spirituality. When will we inquire? When we have some expectation of getting some answers. Isn't it? If a person says, we may usually talk about expectations in terms of, say, desires. I expect I'll get this, I expect I'll get that. But even in terms of, the Vedanta Sutra is telling us to inquire, that means there are certain intellectual expectations. I'll get some answers. So if we become expectationless, if we try to, it's not possible also, but if we try to become that way, there'll be nothing left for us to motivate us in life. So it's not that expectation is the problem. What is misdirected expectation? Misdirected expectation means that we want to actually become competitors to Krishna. That means, we want to become the central enjoyers. And we think whatever field I am in, that I will become the number one, I'll become the best, and I will become all attractive. If not all attractive as possible. And in that way, we basically try to become competitors of Krishna. But at the same time, because we are parts of Krishna, Krishna is all attractive, and just as Krishna attracts everyone, we also have a nature to attract others. Because we are Mamaivamsho Jiva Loki. But rather than being competitors, we are meant to be cooperators with Krishna. So when we serve Krishna, at that time also we become, a devotee becomes spiritually attractive. If we look at Srila Prabhupada, he was a 70-year-old man from India, And here there were Western people who were hippies. They would not respect even their own elders. So what was it that attracted them to Prabhupada? It was Krishna's all attractiveness that was manifesting through him in some way. So when we strive to become servants of Krishna, and our expectation is, Krishna, please keep me engaged in your service. As we chant, that is the expectation that we have. Krishna, please engage me in your service. So if that is the expectation, how we serve, where we serve, all that may change. But if we focus primarily on Krishna, please give me the strength to serve you. Please keep me engaged in your service. With that expectation, when we move forward in life, we'll see that Krishna will give us more and more fulfilling, more and more stimulating, more and more challenging services, but we'll grow through those services. So rather than thinking that expectation is the cause of frustration, it is misdirected expectation. Thinking that I can become an independent enjoyer. If we focus on serving Krishna, and actually we see that we have a desire to control, we have a desire to enjoy, it is not that Krishna consciousness denies that. It is that we integrate that with Krishna's controllership. We integrate that with Krishna's enjoyership. So the spiritual master becomes a controller. Isn't it? The spiritual master becomes the controller of the disciples. But that is in the service of the supreme controller. When we become guides, when we share Krishna consciousness, we become guides. So at that time we also gain some control over those who are guiding. But that is in the service of the supreme controller. So it is misdirected expectations, the expectation of doing things separate from Krishna, that is the problem. Now we are a part of Krishna, a part. But presently we are apart from Krishna. So that is our problem. Instead of striving to be apart from Krishna, we can strive of how I can be a part of Krishna. Okay. How does one develop humility, but at the same time become self-confident? Especially if someone has had a background of depression and inferiority complex, then how does one avoid relapse into that while cultivating humility? Actually, humility is very different from inferiority complex. The main difference is that inferiority complex is basically false ego frustrated. Whereas humility is false ego rejected. That means when I have inferiority complex, that means I want to be great. I want the whole world to know how great I am. But there is nothing great about me. So I want to be great, but there's no way I can exhibit my greatness. And that's why it is false ego frustrated. Whereas humility is false ego rejected. That means a devotee lives at a different level. A devotee delights in Krishna's greatness. A devotee delights in sharing Krishna's greatness with the world. Prahlad Maharaj says that, Naivo duje pradrutte vaitarnyas twadvirya gayan mahamrita magna chitta. He says, in glorifying you, I am getting such nectar. Twadvirya gayan mahamrita magna chitta. Oceanic nectar I am getting in this. So basically, as sadhakas, our focus should be on cultivating Krishna consciousness and delighting in loving and serving Krishna. If we don't understand humility properly, then as it's rightly said that in the name of humility, we may develop too much negativity. Because the whole point of there can be positive self-obsession and there can be negative self-obsession. Positive self-obsession is actually egomania. I did this, I went there, I went this, I am this. It's all positive self-obsession. Whereas when you talk about inferiority complex, that is actually negative self-obsession. Oh, I can't do this, I can't do that, I am like this, I am like that. But in both cases, the problem is there is self-consciousness. In one case, the self-consciousness may be how good I am. In other case, there may be how bad I am. But Krishna consciousness means not self-consciousness, but becoming conscious of Krishna. And the purpose of humility, if it is trunadapi sunichena, tarorapi sahishnuna, amanina manadena, kirtaniya sadahari. The purpose of humility is so that we can do kirtaniya sadahari. So for us, if we make humility as a goal, separate goal in itself, yes, humility is a good quality. But in today's culture, the focus is that we need to recognize that humility for us is in the service of Krishna. So our primary purpose is to give up self-consciousness by which we can become more absorbed in Krishna consciousness, more free for being conscious of Krishna. Now, in this case, humility means we think less about ourselves. That means I don't think so much about myself. And actually inferiority complex means I think low about myself. I'm good for nothing. I'm good for nothing. So that is a difference. Think less means I'm not so obsessed with myself. Okay, I have some good qualities. I have some bad qualities. Whatever I am, I'm still Krishna's part. Krishna is still allowing me an opportunity to serve him. So let me serve him. So basically, we can see humility primarily as giving up self-consciousness. So if we think too much about our own weaknesses, our own deficiencies, and if that becomes our focus, that may make us feel insecure, that may make us feel depressed. When, say, great sages talk about, when Krishna Karmanye talks about, say, I am lower than a worm in the stool, I am more sinful than Jagai and Madai. This is, we may say this is not factually true. Why are they saying like this? Krishna Karmanye is not that way. But why is he saying like that? Actually, such expressions are the result of his profound absorption in Krishna consciousness. When a devotee is very absorbed in Krishna, at that time the devotee feels, Krishna loves me so much. Krishna is doing so much for me. And when Krishna is doing so much for me, in return, what am I doing? I am not doing anything at all. And therefore, when he is saying, I am lower than Jagai and Madai, what it means is, he says, Lord Chaitanya has bestowed so much mercy on me, but I have not reciprocated at all. And Lord Chaitanya bestowed some mercy on Jagai and Madai, and they reciprocated so much. So because I have not reciprocated, that's why I am more fallen than Jagai and Madai. The center there is not whether, from the objective point of view, Krishna Karmanye Goswami is a very pure person. Jagai Madai is a very low-grade person, relatively speaking. At least earlier they were. So he is not talking from this platform at all. In the light of Krishna's love and Krishna's mercy, when that becomes more and more apparent, more and more evident in our consciousness, then we start feeling, oh, I am doing nothing for Krishna. I'm so unfortunate, I'm so fallen, that I'm not able to do anything at all. So that state of exalted humility cannot be artificially imitated. What we can focus on in our attempt to cultivate humility is three things practically. First is that whenever we are able to do something good, we give credit to Krishna and Vaishnavas. It is only by Krishna's mercy, my spiritual master's mercy. It is by the devotee's mercy that whatever good I am able to do, I do that. Second thing is that whenever we get some honor, we strive as much as possible not to get carried away by that. That means, Radhanath Maharaj once said in a lecture, if others glorify you and you believe it, then you are most unfortunate. So the point is that we shouldn't, does that mean others are lying? No, it's not that others are lying. The point is there is the culture of devotion in which devotees naturally glorify each other. So what we should see is when others are glorifying us, that is indirect encouragement. Rather than saying, I am great, I am so great, what we can see it, okay, here Krishna is manifesting some good quality within me. So Krishna is using me in some way, this is the way I can serve. And when we see it that way, then the focus goes on serving Krishna. So if somebody appreciates us, it's not that we say that they are lying or something, but it's just that it is because of Krishna that I am able to have this quality. It is Krishna who is manifesting this quality through me. So this is the way I can serve. And lastly, we can focus on how we can shift the focus from us to the service. Now, Prabhupada, even when he was in America, at that time, he was he had such a big temple, so many big temples, but Prabhupada never rested on his laurels. Prabhupada was always thinking, how can I expand Krishna consciousness more and more? He had nice programs going on in America. He decided, I want to go to India. So, if we achieve something and we rest on the laurels means, it's an English saying where one just delights in one past triumphs. But if we focus on expanding the reach of the service of Krishna, then that serving Krishna will shift our focus from our self-consciousness. And we will be able to maintain humility. So when we see there is so much more to do in Krishna's service, then whatever pride we may have, I done so much, that will go away and we'll be focused more on service to Krishna. So that way, if we don't think too much about what are our faults, we focus on how we can serve Krishna. And that way we can cultivate humility without getting into inferiority complex. In a community, seniors or leaders play a very major role for setting example of selfless service for following generations to come. What if the leaders have to act in a way where they have to take monetary benefits from the community for their personal needs? And it has the potential to damage the selfless mood in the community. So how should the leaders act? And how should the general devotees see the situation? Generally, everyone should have a mood of selfless service. So for example, if a devotee falls sick, that devotee should be thinking, oh, I must have done so many sinful activities. Because of you, I am falling sick. But others should not think, oh, I thought you were a great devotee. Now I know you must have done a lot of bad karma because of which you are getting all these reactions. Now always our mood should be how I can serve. So a devotee should see if some other devotee is having some difficulty, we can see that as an opportunity to serve that devotee, to assist that devotee. Now specifics about how we serve, in what form, to what magnitude, that will vary from situation to situation. So we can't give any universal principles about that. But the important thing is to maintain a service attitude always. And as far as monetary considerations are there are different temples which will have different policies, different principles which may be applicable in different situations. There is no one universal decider for these things. Actually, Srila Prabhupada wanted that the Grihasthas also live in the temple and they also serve, that the temple will take care of them and they serve. And that model worked for some time, but afterwards it did not work. The devotees, because book distribution went down, the devotees started living outside, they had their own jobs. And now the Krishna consciousness movement is more than 95%, it is a congregation-based movement. Very few devotees actually stay in the temple. So, and the way the movement is spreading, it's unlikely to ever again become a temple-centered movement, the way it was during Prabhupada's times. So the demographics, in 1979 some survey was done. So at that time, 97% of ISKCON devotees were staying inside the temple. Brahmacharis and Grihasthas, everyone. Now 97% devotees stay outside the temple. So things have changed drastically. And how exactly in such a situation, how to navigate the situation, that will vary from person to person. And if some devotee needs help, some devotee seeks help, there is, according to time, place, circumstance, the temple may adjust things. And our purpose should be that we want to serve Krishna. And if we have a close relationship with that devotee and we feel inspired to assist that devotee, that's fine. But we don't have to become judges in this situation. As devotees, there is basically, there is a temple which is like the central community, which is primarily focused on devotional activities. The temple itself is meant directly for devotional activities. But apart from that, there can be various circles. The temple is like one central circle, but around that there can be many concentric circles. And in those concentric circles, there can be different aspects of devotees' lives being served. So, it may be financial security of devotees. So, for example, now in many temples, there is a marriage board. Many communities, there may be a marriage board for helping devotees to get married. Now, that is not necessarily directly spiritual, but it is important for one's spiritual life. So, just as some social arrangement can be made, such as marriage board, for the important aspect of devotee's life, marriage to be taken care of. Similarly, if there are some financial problems, some arrangement can be made. That is not the temple directly, but it can be some circle around the temple. And interested devotees can participate in it. And rather than thinking that this situation is, yeah, some devotees are using this for their monetary benefits, we can focus on how we can best serve Krishna. See, it's like Krishna is here, I am here, and some devotee is here. So how, what is happening between that devotee and Krishna? If some devotee is going through a lot of difficulties, it is not our position to judge others. And that is between them and Krishna, and their relationship will go. If we feel that, no, this is not proper, then we did not help in that. If we feel inspired to help that devotee, we can help. This is a matter of individual discretion. It's not there cannot be any institutional fiat about this, or what is to be done and what is not to be done. The Krishna consciousness movement is primarily meant to offer spiritual knowledge, spiritual culture. But when people are living in this world, you cannot tell someone, I care for your soul, I don't care for your body. If you cannot artificially separate the body and the soul. So, the material help, if it is required, that can also be offered. But how exactly it is to be offered, that will vary according to time, place, circumstance. And as the movement grows not just in numbers, but in terms of these concentric circles, where there will be different needs. Just like some devotees, many places devotees start schools for the devotee children. That's also a need which is taken care of. So like that, health or financial issues, that is also one need. So as the community expands, some social security system or social support system can be created by which these needs are taken care of. But specifics, if we are not directly involved in the managerial issue, we don't have to judge others about it. We can continue our service in the way we feel inspired by taking guidance from senior devotees. Thank you. Okay. So is it that Krishna enjoys us being his servants, and that is why he has created this material world where if we don't serve him, we are miserable, and that way through the misery forces us to go back to him, and then we have to serve him? So is it that Krishna enjoys being the master and forces us practically to be the servant? If Krishna had enjoyed being the master, then why would Krishna be not the king of Raja? He is not the king, he is the king's son, he is the prince. And in Vrindavan, he is not treated as God. If you look at Krishna's pastime itself, eternally in the spiritual world, and even when he is descended in this world, even when he descends in this world, he is not the king. He is actually Ugrasen is the king, and he is the grandson. When we see the Bhagavad Gita, he is again just a charioteer. So Krishna is not a God who delights in his godhood. In fact, he delights in the reciprocation of love. And when awareness of his godhood comes in the way of the intimacy of love, he conceals his godhood. That's why in Vrindavan, the Vrajavasis do not know that Krishna is God. And that is arranged by Krishna himself through Yogamaya. That they forget that he is God so that love can reign supreme. What reigns supreme in Golok Vrindavan is not Krishna. It is love that reigns supreme. And Krishna is interested in love. Krishna is not interested in lording over us. At the same time, we as souls have an eternal nature. We have a nature to love and a nature to serve. And we at our core are eternal beings. And we want an eternal object to love and serve. And that's why we see all the movies, all the novels, they talk about HEA, happily ever after. Now why do they talk about it? Because that's the heart's natural longing. Now it cannot be fulfilled in this world because this world is temporary. So Krishna, through the temporariness of this world, he redirects our love towards him. So because we are eternal, because we have eternal longing for love, we cannot be satisfied by any object other than the eternal object. And Krishna is the all-attractive supreme person. So by definition, he cannot have any substitute. He is the supreme. Supreme means there is only one Supreme. So by definition, Krishna cannot have any substitute. That's why our heart's eternal longing for love cannot be satisfied with anyone other than Krishna. This is not Krishna's authoritarianism. This is simply our constitutional position. Three things I said. We are eternal, we long for eternal object of love, and we want an attractive object of love. So Krishna is the eternal and the supremely attractive object of love. And Krishna, there cannot be any substitute for Krishna because he is supreme. That is his definition. So that is his very constitutional nature. Now, the way Krishna arranges this world is that there is a little pleasure in this world and there is a substantial amount of misery in this world. So there may be movies like Kabhi Khushi Kabhi Gum. But actually, it is not Kabhi Khushi Kabhi Gum, Thodi Khushi Bahut Gum. There is a lot of misery in this world. And the purpose of this is that if Krishna had created this world, it's purely, entirely miserable place only, then we would have got used to it. You know, if a person is blind, then others watch him, know that person is using a stick or groping along in the darkness. We feel, oh, this person is such a terrible condition. But they don't feel it that way. In fact, if there was a kingdom where everybody was blind, then nobody would know that they were blind. They would think this is the normal way to live. Isn't it? So the point is, if Krishna had created this world as entirely a place of misery, we would have got habituated to the misery. And we would just lived here only as it is. And in principle, Krishna cannot make this a place which is full of happiness, because happiness comes through the reciprocation of love. And we need the supreme object of love for the love to be satisfying. So what Krishna does is, he doesn't make this world totally a place of misery. There is misery in this world, but along with that, there is a little pleasure. And when we seek that pleasure and when we are frustrated, then we think, where is real happiness available? And then we redirect our heart towards Krishna. So then our heart's longing for eternal love is fulfilled. So see, Krishna, there is love and service together. If we focus only on the point of service, we are servants of Krishna, then the love aspect gets neglected. And then what happens? If we think that Krishna is a master and he wants us to be his slaves. But Prabhupada writes in the first canto, I think 9th chapter purport, he says the relationship between Krishna and the soul is not like the master-servant relationship of this world, where the master wants to exploit the servant as much as possible. But he writes that the relationship of Krishna and the soul is the most congenial form of intimacy. It is the most congenial form of intimacy. So, yes, we do want to develop a service attitude. We want to recognize that we are servants. But if we divorce the love from the service, then we will think that Krishna is a slave driver or something like that. But we focus on the love aspect. And we understand that the service is integral to love. Whenever there is love, we want to serve the beloved. So Krishna has arranged this world in such a way that our loving nature can be redirected towards him, and thus we can attain eternal happiness. So it's not that Krishna wants us to be his servants. He wants us to be happy. And the nature of things is such that when we love and serve him, then only we can become happy. And so he has arranged this world in such a way that we can gradually become redirected towards him and attain eternal happiness. So it is said that progress in spiritual life and progress in material life has inverse relationship. If it is true, then in Grihastha Ashram, what should be considered as minimum aspirations in material life, as there is endless aspiration and social expectations? Is there any possibility of simultaneous progress in both the aspects? See, the material and spiritual life, we have to understand that for the purpose of making sure that we give adequate time for sadhana, we should separate. Okay, I need to go to a temple, I need to chant japa, I need to associate with devotees. So for that purpose, we can separate. This is material, this is spiritual. But after we have done that, you should know that if Krishna is the goal of our life, then from that ultimate purpose point of view, everything is spiritual. So Krishna also says, yataha pravrittir bhutanam yena sarvamidam tatam swakarmana tam abhyarcha siddhim vindati manavaha. That worship him through your work. Swakarmana tam abhyarcha. By your work, worship him. So, some people translated this as work is worship. But actually, if work is worship, then the donkey is the greatest worshipper. So work itself is not worship, but Krishna says, by our work we can worship him. And he uses the first two lines of this verse are what? Yataha pravrittir bhutanam yena sarvamidam tatam. He who is the source of everything and by whom the whole world is pervaded. That means Krishna is giving these two lines before this swakarmanatam abhyarcha. This is 18.47 in the Bhagavad Gita, 18.46. Why is he giving this? To give us this vision that we shouldn't fragment the world from Krishna. This world is connected with him. And what we do in this world can also be done in the mood of service. Now, Krishna has given us certain talents. Krishna has given us certain resources. Krishna has given us certain positions in society. And they are all meant to be used in his service. Now, sometimes some talents can be directly used in Krishna's service. We may become preachers, we may do deity worship, we may do very counseling, mentoring. But apart from that, we have a profession. And now, whatever we are doing, if we do it in the mood of service for Krishna, we can and should excel in that. So it is not that material progress and spiritual progress are inversely proportional. That is not essentially true. What is true is sense gratification and spiritual growth do not go together. But when you talk about material progress and sense gratification are not necessarily equal. Now, if a devotee is in a particular career, and if the devotee grows in that career, that is not necessarily pratikul to bhakti. Only if that growth in career means that the devotee has to spend so much time in the career that there is no time left for spiritual life. Or for growing in that career, the devotee has to do some anti-devotional activities, give up some devotional principles, then that is unfavorable. But if by doing our profession well, using our God-given talents, if we excel in our profession, we shouldn't think that that is against the principles of bhakti. Put it another way. Suppose some person is very wealthy and that person becomes a devotee. Now because they are very wealthy, or not just wealthy, they may be influential in some other way. They may be in a big post in some company or some government. If some person is influential in some way, and if they become a devotee, then what influence they have, that can be used in Krishna's service. So if a person after becoming a devotee becomes influential, so if a person acquires influence before they became devotee, that can be used in Krishna's service. But if a person becomes a devotee, after that the influence they get, can't they be used in Krishna's service? That can also be used. So the problem is not material progress per se. The problem is material progress that comes at the expense of spiritual progress. But it is not that all material progress has to come at the expense of spiritual progress. In fact, what I have seen when I was in college, that many devotee students, after they become devotees, initially their academic performance sometimes goes down. Because they start thinking, oh, this is all material. This is all Maya. But if they get proper understanding, then actually, quite often their academic performance improves. Because they realize that they don't waste so much time which other people waste in gossip and chit-chat and so many things. And although bhakti takes a lot of time is also saved. And they can actually work more productively. So it is material progress and spiritual progress, they can go together. And rather than seeing material and progress, it is not that at every moment a devotee has to be analyzing, is this material, is this spiritual? It is, we focus on serving Krishna. Now suppose there is a class, and in the class there is a joke. You think, hey, am I laughing for Krishna's pleasure or my pleasure? If everybody starts thinking like that, what will happen is that the speaker will start crying. I'm making a joke, nobody is laughing. So it is not that we have to constantly be analyzing. We make sure that we have adequate time for our spiritual life. But apart from that, whatever we are doing, we do it with a spiritual intention. Now if we start thinking, this is material, we will unnecessarily dishearten ourselves. Because if we are involved in some activity, if we are going to do it, we need to do it well. If we have family responsibilities, we start thinking, this is material, this is not spiritual, then we will dishearten ourselves unnecessarily. There's no need for that. Even if our family members are not devotees, still by doing our family responsibilities, we can be acting in a mood of devotion. So, they may not be devotees, but still doing our family responsibilities can also be devotional service, if we are doing it in the mood of devotion. If our family members are not devotees, but if we do our family responsibilities well, and then our family members see, hey, because of his or her bhakti, they become better people. That attracts them towards Krishna. And if anything that attracts people towards Krishna, that is anukul to bhakti. So we don't have to constantly divorce between the two. Now regarding how much can we progress in material life, that is something which has to be individually decided. Nobody can mandate that. But in principle, we shouldn't equate this material progress as antithetical to spiritual progress. But it is true that when one starts pursuing a lot of wealth, a lot of position, a lot of fame, and that may consume one's time and thought and energy so much that one may not have time for spiritual life. So if we make a plan that, okay, this much time I am going to give my spiritual life, this much I am going to do in my spiritual life. And after that, remaining, whatever time, I don't have to be half-hearted. Oh, this is material, this is material. No, if I'm going to give time in that, just give it wholeheartedly. Now, what we are is Krishna's gift to us. What we become is our gift to Krishna. What we are, all the talents that we have, whatever resources we have, it all is Krishna's gift to us. And what we become by that, become not just as devotees, but even in our material life. If we get position, if we get power, if we get fame, if we get wealth, we can see that this is my gift to Krishna, so that I can use it in Krishna's service. We see, if we look back at the ancient culture of India, it was developed materially also. Sanskrit, as a language, it is grammar is a very evolved language. Its grammar is quite intricate. And it enables one to communicate subtle concepts in a very attractive way. But for doing all that, all our acharyas, they learned Sanskrit. It is not that just because they were acharyas, they were born talking Sanskrit. No, they all put time learning Sanskrit. So why? Because it's a tool for serving Krishna. So whatever is required, we can use it. One of my devotee friends has done his PhD in Bhakti Siddhanta Saraswati Thakur. So he showed me a book. That is, Bhakti Siddhanta, like students nowadays memorize English words for GRE or TOEFL. So that was Bhakti Siddhanta Thakur's English vocabulary book. He was memorizing English words. Of course, his English vocabulary was quite extraordinary. But the point is, he learned it. It was not that he was born with it. So we don't have to divorce things as material and spiritual. We need to separate so that we give adequate time for spiritual life. But afterwards, we can just direct everything in the service of Krishna. And yes, there can be endless aspirations. So over time, there is organic renunciation that comes. Organic renunciation means, as we keep pursuing material life, at a particular time, we start to think, this is really not worth it. So if we are forcibly deprived from something, then always there will be that, hey, maybe I could have achieved more, maybe I could have achieved more, maybe I could have achieved more. So if we have certain talents, if we have certain abilities and we feel like achieving something, we make a commitment to practice some level of spiritual life, a serious level of spiritual life. And after that, we can use our energies for pursuing material life. And gradually, we ourselves will, by practicing spiritual life steadily, we ourselves realize this much is enough. There is no end to this, let me end this. Or let me put a cap at this and focus on Krishna. So this is something which we shouldn't be judging others for that. We should be focusing on how we can learn ourselves and how others will develop that in their relationship with Krishna. So what is a quota for whom? Tena tyaktena bhunjita ma grudha kasya siddhanam, it says. But what is a quota for whom? That will be different from people to person. For example, somebody has always been living in a rural background. They have thatched hut and they live very simply. They don't even have running water. Now, they may be satisfied in that. But suppose we have lived all around in city and then we are told to live over there, that will be very difficult for us. So just as we very easily understand that in the rural-urban background, what is a natural thing for us may be different from what is natural for them. So like that, all of us come from different cultural backgrounds, we come from different financial levels, we come from different intellectual dispositions, different levels of intellectual disposition. So what is our quota? That is something we have to decide. It's just like food. We may, if we start, hey, you eat so much and I eat so little. No, what I need I eat, what you need you eat. And we all, when we are eating, we all go through that experiment. Sometimes we eat too little, more often we eat too much. But afterwards, we ourselves learn. We said, I ate so much, and then after eating, instead of gaining energy, I lost energy. So then I would eat so much. So just as nobody has to mandate for us, and this you should eat this much and you should not eat this much. Similarly, regarding our material aspirations, as long as we are practicing bhakti, as long as somebody is taking prasad, we don't have to bother how much they are eating. They will themselves learn on their own. So like that, as long as one is practicing basic spiritual life, then what level they want to go at in the material life, we leave it to them. And as far as we are concerned, we should not have a constant nagging sense of dissatisfaction in material life. Material life, we will never be satisfied. But as we keep practicing material life and keep pursuing our material life and keep pursuing our spiritual life, gradually we become detached from material life, not because it is, there can be detachment which can come because of frustration. I wanted to achieve it, but I can't achieve it. Like one time when I was in Pune, one young man came, he had never come to the temple. He said, I'm thinking of becoming a monk next month. He says, why next month? He says, I have proposed to a girl and she's going to answer next month. If she says no, I'll become a monk. Now, frustration is no foundation for renunciation. Frustration may initially turn us towards bhakti, but we need positive attraction towards Krishna to be able to sustain ourselves in renunciation. So by our practice of bhakti, if we ourselves realize, hey, this spiritual life is so nice. So if I am renouncing material life because it is too troublesome, because it is too difficult to achieve, or because others are telling me don't go in that direction, we'll always have some nagging hope that maybe I'll go there and I'll enjoy more. But if we are practicing spiritual life seriously, we will get higher taste in spiritual life. And we'll ourselves feel, I put in so much effort in material life and I get some pleasure, but so little. I put in some effort in spiritual life and there's so much satisfaction here. So why not invest my energy more in this? So others can inspire us, but this is a decision which we have to individually take. And we can take it just as the way we decide by experience, by experiment, how much we eat. Like that, we can decide how much we want to pursue material life. But we should never, for the sake of material life, give up our basic practice of spiritual life. That should always go on. And beyond that, as we become organically detached, we can increase our spiritual practices more and more. Is it that a neophyte has both legs in the material world and looks up at the spiritual world? A madhyama has one leg in the material world and another in the spiritual world, and uttama has both legs in the spiritual world? No, not exactly. Actually, Jiva Goswami talks about 3 kinds of Mahabhagavats. These Mahabhagavats, they are of 3 categories. For spiritual realization or in spiritual liberation, there is becoming gunatita, guna atita. That means going beyond the 3 modes. And there is swarupa siddha. Swarupa siddha means realizing our swarupa. So there may be Mahabhagavats. Mahabhagavats means those who are completely fixed in their devotion to Krishna. They may be neither gunatita nor swarupa siddha. They have not yet realized the swarupa. They have not gone beyond the modes. The modes still influence them, but they have no inclination to indulge in the modes. The modes still have some influence, but they turn away, they say no to the modes consistently. So those Mahabhagavats, those who are fully devoted to Krishna, but they have not yet become gunatita, they have not yet become swarupa siddha. They are said to be those who have both legs in the material world, but their eyes are fixed on the spiritual world. Those who have become gunatita, but not swarupa siddha. They have one leg in the material world and one leg in the spiritual world. Those who have become gunatita and swarupa siddha, they have actually both their legs in the spiritual world, practically speaking. It is just that they are waiting for the prarabdha karma of their body to end, and when the body falls, they will be in the spiritual world. So Kanishta, Madhyama, all of them are still very much in the material world, and we may not be, we are not pure devotees, but we can be potential pure devotees. We can be aspiring pure devotees by making, for a pure devotee, Krishna is the only desire. For us, what we can strive for right now is to make Krishna our strongest desire. We cannot get rid of all desires, but at least we can strive to make Krishna our strongest desire. We have other desires, but if we keep practicing bhakti seriously, then Krishna will become our strongest desire. And even if we can't give up other desires, we will subordinate other desires to the desire for Krishna. And that way we can move onwards in our life. So I have tried repeatedly to progress in my material life, and despite strong candidacy of things, they didn't turn out favorably. Just when things were going to fall in place, everything went wrong. However, does it mean that one shouldn't attempt extremely hard towards such material aspirations and keep in mind Krishna's message, Karmanye vadhikaraste, and keep going in life with spiritual aspirations and performing duties in material world? Sometimes when we pursue material life and things can go wrong, that can happen for devotees, that can happen for non-devotees. That is just the nature of the material world. So when we say Om, Shanti, 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 3 times we say Shanti. The reason for that is, actually the soul is trapped in 3 circles, or is encased in 3 circles. The circle of the body and the mind, the circle of society, and the circle of material nature or environment. And now all these 3 circles, they can cause klesha. The adhyatmic klesh, adhibhautik klesh, and adhidaivik klesh. So they say, the invocation says Shanti 3 times. It is, adhyatmic klesh Shanti, adhibhautik klesh Shanti, adhidaivik klesh Shanti. That's the aspiration for peace. So actually, just being in the material world, whether we are devotees, whether non-devotees, things will go wrong. Now, as far as Karmanye vadhikaraste is concerned, certainly Krishna, last line he says, Mate sangostva karmani. That do not be detached to not doing one's work. So we should not become lethargic or despondent or morose just because we don't get success in material life and stop doing things. Now we have our duty and we do that duty. So I explained in the retreat how there is karma plus daiva plus kala gives phala. So we do our duty, then the destiny comes in rightly, and then when time passes, then the result comes. The farmer sows the land, plows the seed, that is the karma. The destiny gives the rains, and then time passes and the harvest occurs. So now in this case, sometimes destiny may not be favorable. And that's why despite our work, the results, despite our karma, the phala may not come. But you should know that whatever karma we are doing, that is contributing to our future positive daiva. So in that sense, whatever work we do, it does not ever go in vain. It always contributes positively. And that's why Krishna says, Mate sangostva karma. Do not be attached to inaction. Now, we can also observe in material life, Krishna also says that there are 5 factors which determine success, or which adhishthanam tatha karta karanam cha pratak vida vividhasya pratak cheshta daivam chaivatra panchamam. So he says adhishthanam. If I were to do any activity, adhisthana is the field of action, that is the body. Karta, that is the doer, that is the soul. Karanam, that is the senses. And cheshta is the endeavor. And daivam chaivatra panchamam, destiny is the 5th factor. So all these 5 need to come together for the result to come out right. So to give a simple example, suppose there is a sports player, a cricketer is there. The cricketer has to be in basic health. The body has to be fit. Along with that, if the cricketer is a batsman or a bowler, there are specific senses required for the specific activity that we are doing. Sometimes the musician may be physically healthy, but the throat may be sore. Musician cannot perform. So for specific occupations, specific senses are required. So the senses also have to be fit. And then Krishna says, karta, the musician, if the soul has left the body, the musician cannot do anything. So the soul has to be there. But the 4th factor he says is cheshta. Cheshta is endeavor. So without endeavor, things don't produce results. Nahi suptasya simhasya pravishanti mukhe mrugaha. Subhashita says that by the past karma, a soul may get the body of a lion. A lion is supposed to be the king of animals. But just because that soul has a lion's body, that does not mean the deer is going to come in its mouth and say, "Eat me, please." Nahi suptasya simhasya pravishanti mukhe mrugaha. That if the lion keeps sleeping, the deer is not going to come in its mouth. Even the lion, having the body of a lion, still has to endeavor, has to chase the deer to catch it. So like that, even when we have talents, we have to endeavor. Cheshta is one factor, and then daiva is the last factor. So if we don't do cheshta, we will not get the result. So sometimes it happens that we need to keep striving for something, and gradually the result comes. So now it is a matter of practical intelligence. That means, say, if I am doing a particular activity and repeatedly I am not succeeding in that activity. So should I just keep continuing doing that activity till I succeed? Or should I look for some other activity, maybe some other career, maybe some other direction I should progress in? That is a matter of practical intelligence. And we can consult others and think of ourselves and decide. But in principle, failure in material life should not be taken as a license for laziness. Even if we don't get success in material life, laziness is tamoguna. Whereas bhakti is actually, normally in material life, if we are pursuing, we are in rajoguna. We are in passion when we are pursuing a lot of things in material life. And if we don't get success in material life, we may become frustrated. Now, frustration, as I said, is not renunciation. When we are frustrated, the difference is that, they say the three modes, sometimes it's humorously described. Some people make things happen, some people watch things happen, and some people wonder what happened. So, these are basically, you could say, roughly the three modes. In goodness, people make things happen. In passion, we want to do a lot of things, but we do one thing and that creates we don't do it very thoughtfully, so that creates a whole complexity, and we say, what is happening? What is happening? What is happening? Aneka chitta vibhranta. So some people watch things happen. And some people are ignorant, hey, some people wonder what happened. So, if we don't get success in material life, that is in passion we are not able to achieve. So, if we go into ignorance, I can't do anything. So, that going into ignorance is not really conducive for transcendence. So, we need to rise towards the higher consciousness. So, when we come towards goodness, that means if we have facing some reversals in material life, then if we intensify our spiritual life and pray to Krishna, some chants around, associate with devotees seriously, then that will bring us to goodness. And when we are in goodness, we will be able to actually observe what is happening in our material life. What did I do wrong? Is it that I just need to persist in this very field and eventually I'll achieve success? Or should I look in some other field? That we will learn when we come to goodness. So rather than seeing failure in material life as a license for becoming lethargic about material life and sinking into the mode of ignorance, we can see that this is an opportunity to take a pause. We take a pause and absorb ourselves in Krishna, and then after our consciousness is raised towards goodness, then we can see and decide what we can do after that. Okay. How do we make use of the principle of Lila and Dharma simultaneously to understand historic events which do not seem righteous by conventional thinking? Yeah. There is immorality, there is morality, and there is transmorality. It's immoral, moral, and transmoral. So transmoral does not mean that something is below morality. It is something which is above morality. See, morality is like a lamp. Suppose if I am in a very dark place. If I am in a very dark place and I can't see anything, at that time, if somebody gives me a lamp, then that lamp will show me the way. That lamp will show me the way. Now, if I have that lamp and afterwards the sun rises, when the sun rises, I am still carrying the lamp. I don't need the lamp at that time, because the sun is a far greater source of illumination. So Bhaktisiddhanta Swami Thakur used this example. He says that the lamp is like our moral principles. And Krishna is the supreme sun. So we need moral principles to protect ourselves from our selfish desires. If there were no morality, we would exploit others, we would steal from others, we would dominate others. So morality is important so that we don't become completely ruled by our selfish desires. So that way, morality acts as a light. But when the sun of Krishna rises in the heart of a devotee, or when Krishna himself is acting, at that time Krishna has no selfish desires. So that's why Krishna does not need the light of morality. See, we need morality so that we do the right thing. Because we have forces within us which make us want to do the wrong things for our selfish gains. But Krishna has no such forces within him. And Krishna's pure devotees also don't have such forces within them. That's why when they act simply for the good of everyone. So that's why Krishna is, it is said, he is omnibenevolent. Benevolent means to do good to others. Omni means for everyone. Krishna is omnibenevolent. So now, therefore, when Krishna acts in Krishna's pastimes, sometimes Krishna may seem to act in an adharmic way. But it is not adharmic. It is not immoral, it is transmoral. Krishna is acting from a transcendental perspective for the good of everyone. So how the dharma, so here now relating this with the question of dharma and lila. In dharma, the principle, dharma is roughly like morality. Dharma enables us to understand what is right, what is wrong, and act wisely. Whereas lila is driven purely by love. And when there are devotees acting in the lila, at that time, Krishna is just not, there is no selfishness involved over there at all. When Europeans came to India in the 18th, 19th century, 17th, 18th centuries, they came to Mathura and Vrindavan, even in Bengal, there was a lot of Krishna bhakti. I said, what is this? You see the small picture, these pictures of, a boy with butter on his face, hand in a butter pot. They said, this is God. This is God. What is he doing? He's stealing butter. They had the idea of a God who sits in a high cloud and sends thunderbolts on the sinful so that they go to hell forever to burn in the fires there. And when they saw this conception of a naughty boy with butter on his face stealing butter, they just got intellectually short-circuited. Just couldn't digest the idea. Why does God have to steal? And if he has to steal also, why butter of all things? Now, there's some Western commentator says, these Hindus, they have no sense of morality. They celebrate a God who steals. And he also steals a valueless item. They have no sense of intelligence, no sense of morality at all. But what they didn't understand is, actually Lila is simply dominated by love. It is motivated, actuated, dominated simply by love. So why does Krishna steal butter? It is not that he needs butter. It is not that Krishna needs anything. First of all, Krishna doesn't have to steal anything at all. He owns everything. He is Lakshmipati. Everything belongs to him. So even if somebody argues Krishna is stealing something, it is like everything belongs to Krishna. So whatever is belonging to the gopis also belongs to Krishna. So if I take something from my lower pocket and put it in my upper pocket, that is not stealing. It is mine only. So even if Krishna takes something from the gopis, everything belongs to him. So it is not stealing. But further, actually Krishna does this to enhance the loving reciprocation between him and the gopis. So the elderly gopis, they make the butter, and then when they are making the butter, they are dreaming, when will Krishna come? And for them, at one time, Yashodamai says, they go and complain to Yashodamai that Krishna is stealing butter. Then Yashodamai says that, okay, in the future now I'll tie up Krishna so that he will never be able to steal butter. Then the gopis become suddenly very glum. They say, then for whom will we make butter? So for them it's completely at a different platform. That's why we need to, Krishna says, first understand tattva. After we understand tattva, then we understand the lila, we'll understand it properly. Suppose there's a person who is a tribal, who doesn't know what is surgery. And that person comes to a city and comes to a hospital and then goes into a surgical theatre. And then he says, hey, this person was perfectly fine. This doctor came along, gave an injection, and now he's taking a knife and opening up the stomach. And he says, hey, stop, 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 he's killing. He starts shouting. And then nobody pays attention to it. And then he goes and tells the relatives, hey, he's killing your relatives, cutting up his stomach. He says, shut up, shut up. Just keep quiet. And after that he observes the same people whose relative was cut up by the doctor, they go and pay the doctor. What is going on? You're crazy. So what is happening here is, first the tribal needs to understand the position of the person. Then they can understand the action of the person. So if they look at the action first, this doctor must be a criminal. This doctor is a murderer. So if we look at the action first and then try to evaluate what is the position, they will make a complete mess of things. So like that, when we are approaching Krishna's pastimes, first we need to understand his position. Then we look at his action. Then it will make sense. That's why Janma karma cha me divyam. Evam yoveti tattvataha. So just hearing Krishna's lila, it may be entertaining, but it will not be elevating, it will not be liberating, unless there is tattvataha, unless there is understanding of the tattva. So when we understand Krishna's position and we understand that Krishna is not motivated by anything, any selfish desire, then we will understand that Krishna doesn't reject dharma, Krishna transcends dharma, and so do his devotees. Okay. If we are sinful, why will Krishna protect us? We are not pure devotees. So then how will we have this positive attitude of self-confidence? Krishna's love for us is not based on who we are. Krishna's love for us is based on who he is. No, he is the supremely benevolent well-wisher of all living beings. So his love for us is not based on who we are. It is simply based on who he is. It is his nature to love everyone. Krishna says, Surudam sarva bhutana, and the well-wisher of all living beings. Now, normally we think of Krishna as Bhakta Vatsala, that he is the lover of his devotees. But Prahlad Maharaj also uses, while describing Narasimhadev, he says, you are Krupana Vatsala. Not just Bhakta Vatsala, you are Krupana Vatsala. Krupana refers to people who are very materialistic. So Krishna cares for them also. He loves them also. So Krishna's love is not conditional. This is a whole elaborate subject. I have a full seminar on this. And in one of my books, My Little Bhakti Companion, there's a long article about this. Whether Krishna's love is conditional or not. I'll just explain this briefly over here. The word condition has two meanings. One is a state. For example, say, I am so sick that I am in no condition to travel right now. So their condition refers to state. Another meaning of condition is a provision. A provision, that means, okay, you will get this prize provided conditions apply. So if this condition is fulfilled, then you will get this particular sale or this particular prize. These two meanings of condition are different. One is a state and the other is a certain provision which needs to be fulfilled for something to take place. So Krishna's love is unconditional in the sense that he loves everyone, whatever be their condition. Even if they love him, they don't love him, he loves everyone. And he wants to do good for everyone. Now, what is conditional is not Krishna's love for us. What is conditional is our experience of Krishna's love, or rather our capacity to experience Krishna's love. Just like the sun gives light to everyone. But depending on, in that sense, the sun's giving light is unconditional. Sun is giving light to sinful people, to pious people, wealthy people, poor people. Sun is giving light to everyone. But if my eyes are closed, then I cannot see the sun. So the sun's giving light is unconditional, but my being able to benefit from the sun's light depends on my condition, the condition of my eyes. If my eyes are closed, then I cannot perceive the sun's light. Now applying this to Krishna, Krishna is like the sun. So Krishna's love for us is unconditional. Krishna loves us always. Now, our closing our eyes is basically like our directing our love towards something other than Krishna. So, I am here, Krishna is here. If my love is directed towards Krishna, then it is like my eyes are open and I can benefit from the sun's light. But when my love is directed towards something else, then my consciousness gets caught in that. And then I evaluate Krishna's love for me largely, if not entirely, in terms of what happens in that thing. So if my love is for my career, if my love is for my bank balance, then I will think that if my career goes nicely, Krishna loves me. If my career is not going nicely, Krishna doesn't love me. So it is our experience of Krishna's love that is conditional. And that conditionality is based on where our love is directed. So if our love is directed towards Krishna, then we will constantly experience Krishna's love, irrespective of what we have materially or what we don't have materially. Of course, this is a very exalted state. And there are Vaishnava songs which talk about this state, Bhaktivinoda Thakur says, Sampade Vipade. Let there be prosperity, let there be adversity. My dear Lord, let me always chant your holy name. Let me always remember you. Narayana parasarve nakutaschana vibhyate swargapavarga nargeshu apitulyartha darshinha. He said that those who are devoted to Narayana, for them, swarga, narka, everything else is equal because they are fixed in Narayana. So at present, our love is, yes, our love is partially directed towards Krishna, but our love is directed towards other things also. So it's like our eyes are partially open. To the extent our eyes are open, to that extent we will be able to see that the sun is giving light. Similarly, to the extent we direct our love towards Krishna, to that extent we will be able to perceive how much Krishna loves me. Yeah, so now ye thamam prapadyante, what does this mean in this context? It says, as all people surrender to me, I reciprocate accordingly. Does this mean Krishna's love for us is unconditional? No, this simply means that Krishna intervenes in our life as much as we want him to. That means Krishna, of course, is always supreme and things happen according to ultimately his sanction. But Krishna reciprocates according to our desires. This does not mean that he loves us, he always loves us. But the extent to which he intervenes in our life, that will depend on how much we want him to intervene. When we say that Krishna doesn't intervene, that doesn't mean Krishna doesn't protect. But Srila Prabhupada used the example that, say there is a mother and a child has done some mischief. And the mother just a little beats the child. Hey, don't do such things. And suppose that same child is grown up, has become a young man, has become a criminal now. And the police catch him and police beat them. Now both the police beating and the mother's beating, it's both of the same purpose. But there's a big difference. One is motivated primarily, both are for the benefit of that person only. Both are meant for reforming that person. But one is motivated primarily by love, the other is motivated primarily by law. Both are for the benefit of the person only. But the motivation is different. Driving motivation is different. So like that, there are, whatever happens in anyone's life, Krishna can bring good out of that. Even a person is a non-devotee, even a person is a materialist, Krishna can orchestrate things in their life in such a way that Krishna can bring out good from them. So, but they are under the rule of law. Whereas devotees are under the rule of love. Now, this is a continuum. To the extent we surrender to Krishna, to that extent, we submit ourselves to Krishna's rule of love, rather than the rule of law. So, rather than worrying too much about whether Krishna will protect me or not, we should focus on whether I stay connected with Krishna or not. The ultimate protection that Krishna offers us is that we stay connected with Him. Because if we stay connected with Him, whatever problems may come in our life, still we will have inner strength, we will have inner peace, and we will be able to move on in our life. So, the nature of the mind is to always worry about that which is not in our control, and thereby to not do that which is in our control. It's like, suppose, I am in a boat and water is coming in the boat. Now water is coming in from my side also, and water is coming in from somebody else's side also. So now what I should be doing is, okay, I try to throw the water out, and others will throw the water out from their side. So if I just say, hey, water is coming in on your side, water is coming in on your side, water is coming in on your side, I keep shouting over there. Well, okay, I am not doing anything to remove that. I can't go there, the water is so much. But let me remove the water from my side. So, our bhakti is a relationship with Krishna. And in this relationship, we shouldn't worry too much about whether Krishna will do his part or not. Because Krishna will do his part. We should focus on whether I am doing my part or not. So don't bother whether Krishna will protect or not. Krishna will surely protect. And even if Krishna comes right in front of us and says, I am going to protect you. The next question, how? Because Krishna's ways of protecting are not always the same. They may not be exactly the same as how we expect the protection to come. And that we see Krishna protects in a very different way throughout the history. If you see the Pandavas, they faced so many dangers, and through each of those dangers, they became stronger. Bhima was poisoned, and after poisoning, Duryodhana poisoned him and threw him into a lake. And he went to Nagaloka, and in the Nagaloka, he not only survived, but the Nagaloka people gave him nectar. And by that nectar, he became so powerful that earlier, Bhima had a slight upper edge above Duryodhana in terms of physical prowess. But so Duryodhana tried to kill him, and Bhima went and drank that celestial nectar from the Nagaloka. And when he came back, there was no match only physically between Duryodhana and Bhima. So Bhima emerged stronger. The Pandavas, they were burned in they were tried to be burned alive in Varanavarta. The Pandavas had to go to the forest and live in the forest. But the result of that was eventually they married Draupadi. And then an alliance was formed between them. And by that they became more powerful. Because that alliance was, at that time, the two main kingdoms, the Kuru kingdom and Panchal kingdom. So, through each of the adversity the Pandavas went through, they actually emerged stronger. Things turned out negative at that time, but eventually they turned out positive for them. So, rather than worrying too much about whether Krishna is going to protect me or not, we focus on, if I keep serving Krishna, if I do my part, Krishna will do his part. So let me just focus on doing my part and leave Krishna's part to him. Okay. So thank you very much. Shri Prabhupada ki, Gaura Bhakta Vrinda ki, Itai Gaur Premanande.